Part of the reason why we have a society that does not report is because they feel unsupported. And sometimes they're even bullied for reporting or teased or made fun of because I don't know when society decided, hey, yeah, this happened to you, but oh, be careful, don't report it. It's ridiculous. That's how the world continues to have so many problems because we don't report things that we should be reporting.
You're listening to the Dalitalks podcast where my mom, Dali, empowers parents like you with parenting tips. My mom's mission is to help parents make their child raising experience easier and more enjoyable by sharing valuable lessons to save them unnecessary struggles. The Dalitalks podcast is for any person already parenting or planning on parenting a child. Each week you'll hear different experts talk with my mom about important aspects of parenting, self-care, and of course her specialized area of bullying awareness and prevention. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, go ahead and do so now wherever you may be listening. And don't forget to set up your alerts so that you don't miss any episodes. Let's get started.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Dalitalks podcast. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much. I hope that you really enjoy this topic. I'm going to try to keep it light, but I will be talking about bullying today because that's the primary thing that I do, not that I bully people, but that I educate people on through my business, Dalitalks LLC. And I founded I created the Diversity and Anti-Bullying Academy. So I created it to educate parents on pretty much how and what to teach kids about bullying prevention and awareness. And one of the things that I do is that I go through the internet. Well, Google Alerts does. And I'm trying to be more intentional about and consistent about sharing some news that, comes into my inbox. And there's a story of a young girl. So I'm going to be talking about suicide. So just a trigger warning in case this is something that you're very sensitive to. If you are, I totally do not blame you. Just go ahead and skip this episode, or you can just, step back, get mentally prepared. I don't go into graphic details or anything, but here it goes. Okay, so the first thing that I want to share about is the story of an 11-year-old, a middle schooler. Now, if you've heard me discuss anything about bullying, you've probably heard me mention that study after study has shown that the peak or the most difficult time or difficult era or phase in life of a child who gets bullied is middle school. And that's also the peak when it mostly happens not just to a specific type of child, but it can happen to pretty much anyone. And this is also when kids are most likely to bully others. So this is where you come in, where I educate you with some information so that you can pass on the information to your kids because you know how to talk to your kids better than I would, right? So I share this story and I want you to kind of share it with your kids, maybe not all the details, that's going to be up to you. But I want to share it so that you can talk to your kids about it so that they can have this different perspective of what really could be happening in other people's lives. So the story of this 11-year-old, Felicia Loalbo Melendez, is of this middle schooler, sixth grader, who skipped a grade. So in the article I read mentions that she could have been more vulnerable to being bullied because she was probably smaller and younger. So, kids just find any type of difference to justify bullying or to tease. So this young little girl, she was fine the day she died, or the day she was found at the school. She died two days later. But a child can seem totally normal, like nothing's wrong, very happy, just like this little girl. She had been selected to play Tafiti in an upcoming play that they were going to have at school, Moana. And just a week before she died, her father died due to cancer. So this mother had to deal with two deaths back to back of the most closest people in her life, right? Um, and she has two other kids, boys. And you know, when children bully other children, they do not have that mentality of, oh, something could be going on with this person at home. Maybe that's why they're so quiet. When they misread somebody or when they stereotype somebody, they might not think of how like incorrect their assumptions could be. Um, and it is so important to always talk to our children about treating people with kindness because you just don't know what's going on. With this young lady, Felicia, she was just a kid who just wanted to be a kid and have fun and do well at school. And she was, um, as her parents described her, very sparkly and happy. And this horrible thing happened. Now, one thing that I must share is that if you're looking for the article and if you want to know how it is that she died of suicide, you will probably not find that because most articles do not reveal uh, the ways that people commit suicide because there's this sense of caution to not give young readers any ideas on how to successfully do it. So, just in case you didn't know. So, going back to this young lady had a whole life ahead of herself. And when we think about how schools manage bullying, it really can vary. And a lot of people don't know how their school will manage it until something happens to their child and they have to be the advocates. So, in almost every case that I've read where bullying and death have happened, the parents always claim that they did alert the school, whether it was a teacher or principal or somebody. They always did. And not all of them sue the schools for negligence because, the number one responsibility of any school in the United States, whether it is public or private, Ivy League or virtual, is to keep kids safe. Second is to educate them with the best quality of education that they can possibly provide. And a lot of parents are not aware of that. A lot of parents think that the number one responsibility is the education because that's what we always hear about, right? And I totally don't blame them. I was like that too. Until my child got bullied when she was 5. She's now 17. I didn't know that, and I had to learn the hard way. And I made so many mistakes that I wasn't aware of until I started researching everything I could about bullying. So, like this parent here, she did what she could, what she thought was possible, right? What the common sense thing is, go report it, and then you think, well, they're going to do something. They can't just not do anything. I just actually assisted a parent because that's one of the services that I provide. People can make appointments through my website on Dalitalks.com and schedule an appointment. There is a fee to get some counseling, pretty much some advice, some information, because I'm not an attorney. So I always tell people, if you want legal advice, you can definitely go to an attorney. But what I provide you with is information and I guide you. So this was a consult. So the child is in first grade. He is not fluent in English, but he does speak some. And he was being sexually harassed by another class member. The classmate is known to be a very touchy-feely type of person, very sporadic, and the child tends to get, touchy-feely when people don't have their eyes on him. So this child was putting or grabbing the other student's hand, the non-English speaker's hand, on his genitals, on top of his clothes, during the school lunch line or in the classroom. So one thing I've always shared is that bullying happens predominantly when a lot of people are around. So that misconception that it happens, like in the locker rooms, in the bathroom, in a dark alley is not so, it's not so true. It mainly happens when there's a lot of people around. So the kid that doesn't speak English very well, he kept telling him to stop. And so this got reported apparently like last year because it happened with that same child. The teachers and the school administrators decided to just keep an eye on the kid and keep them away from each other. Well, it happened again apparently last week. So, I had that consultation with them. And I actually was part of the meeting with the parents and the school. And so that was really valuable to me because I learned a lot about, how this particular school manages those type of situations. And one thing that happened is that after we met with two counselors, the assistant principal or the principal were in meetings. One had an IEP, the other one had some kind of board meeting. And the teacher was teaching. So this was something that they decided to just like walk up and talk to them because they were just so flustered. And I was on the phone, So it was really interesting because they were very open to listening to what the parents wanted. They listened to every detail that they shared about what happened. And the parents asked the counselors if the child trying to touch, the child doing the sexual harassment would be moved out of the classroom. And, the response was a parent can only request their child to be moved out of a classroom, but not another's. And that makes sense. Makes me mad because this is a different type of situation. It's a type of harassment that should be taken extremely serious. It doesn't matter if it's a child to another child. And I have some friends that teach a lot about this type of behavior, about consent, body consent and stuff. And honestly, when I was having this conversation, I thought of like, wow, well, they say as the experts and they know that field so much better than I do, because I deal mainly with bullying, which I guess that's how the whole thing started. The kid was bullying the other kid for not knowing English that well. And then it led to, touching private parts. So the point of this story is that you don't find out how a school manages situations until you go through it. And it's a shame that it happens that way because most people can find out how situations are managed if they talk to the administration. Now, the schools have this privacy law that they have to abide by, which is pretty much that they cannot divulge personal information of a child, of one of the students. And I totally agree. You shouldn't. However, if you are a parent that wants to be informed about real scenarios and situations that have happened at the school, then maybe you can have a one-on-one with the administrators and ask them to give you examples without mentioning names about, different type of situations or different bullying incidents and how they were managed. Some people are still going to say no, but some people will say yes, and they will want to share. A good administrator will use, like stories of somebody maybe many years past if they've been there a long time, so that people don't feel like recent stories are being shared. And then people, how people are, they're like gossipy and they're like, oh, I wonder who that was. And then they start guessing or trying to guess. So anyway, or they'll share experiences from, that they had at another school, just for the sake of giving parents the information and giving them an idea of how those behaviors are managed at the school. So interestingly, and this is something that I was aware of, but I never actually had somebody call. It's so at the district level, there is a person, and this person gets the reports, the incident reports from all the schools. So what the parents did with my guidance is that I showed them where to go to their school's website and submit a report. And it was a bullying report. It was called bullying and harassment report. And you fill in all the fields, and they went ahead and did that, submitted it. There was a section where they provided details of what happened. And because I provided them my very first book that I published, it's called Your Guide to Bullying Prevention. I already had in there some templates on how to fill out a report. Mine has a lot more details. It asks a lot more questions to prepare the parent. So when we went online, they already had everything filled out. And then we filled it out online. I just made sure that everything that looked okay. And it got submitted. And within 24 hours, this person from the school district called the parents and verified, just to tell them, like, hey, we received your message. From what it looks like, we feel like it should be handled at the school level. We understand it's the second time this happens, but we're going to send it back, based on the age, also the, like the severity of it. So the parents were a little iffy about that, but still open to keeping it at the school, at the school level. So the next step is to meet. I think we're meeting Friday, because I'll be assisting again via FaceTime with the parents. And that meeting will consist of the school counselor, the assistant principal, the teacher, and both parents and myself. So one of the things that I advise the parents to do is to keep detailed notes of every meeting that they have, if it is in person or via phone. And one of the things that you can do is that you can send like a thank you for having met with me email, where you summarize everything, and you can word it like this, like saying, thank you, Principal so-and-so, for your time today. From what I understood, about my grievance with so-and-so doing this to my child, is that, that you agree that we're going to have a meeting on this date at this time with these people. And we discussed, why the student can't be moved out of the classroom. We also discussed, like other safety measures and a plan for that day for my child to be in the school. Because one of the things that they did is they asked the school counselors were they going to keep the child safe in the classroom from that kid on that day until the meeting happens. So what they planned on doing was to keep that other child next to the teacher all day, which is really terrible. That was the best that they could do with the resources that they have. Because I know that that's a pain for a teacher to have pretty much a child tethered to them all day while given instruction. And I must add that this child was also targeting a different child who was brand new to the school. It was like the kid's second or third day in school. So there was something there that tells me this child will try to target the most vulnerable, the one that looks like is the easiest to target. So the new kid, right? Because he's like, oh, a new kid doesn't want to talk, they're shy. And then the kid who doesn't fully speak English, he's kind of reserved because he's trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So, you summarize that in an email, and always be cordial and thank them, because they're on your team. They really are. They just have to follow their policies. The other thing that I showed the parents is how to find that policy. And it's expensive, it's boring, but you got to read it, especially when you're already in a situation like that, because that's how you can learn what requests you think that the school can grant you, And it'll also, give you options of, different alternatives. And it's really up to you to just speak up and be creative and throw it out there. And if they say, I'm sorry, I can't, then at least you tried. But you'll be surprised that sometimes they will try to push for your ideas. For example, with this case, because it's of sexual nature, the parents requested an exception for that child to be moved out of the class because there was also a worry about that child being in the same classroom the next year, which at this point is highly unlikely that that will happen because they know what happened. But last year, towards the end of the school year, when this happened, they didn't expect it to happen again. So they ended up in the same classroom and all that. And I'm just trying to share as much detail as possible to give you an idea of, what type of situations happen and what parents can do. There's many other ways that this could have been handled, but this is how it's being handled right now. This is how the parents feel most comfortable. So the main thing here is to talk to your kids about some bullying situations, some real bullying situations that they have witnessed or what you have read online, or maybe something that I shared. And then talk to them about not becoming part of the problem, not acting on those behaviors, and also reporting if it happens to them. And being an ally too, because a lot of children who are bullied, they feel really alone because they feel like nobody's really coming to defend them. And I know that a lot of kids don't want to speak up and defend somebody else because they fear that they'll become a target too. And of course, the second thing I want you to walk away with today is that story about the sexual harassment, from student to student, and the importance of speaking up and advocating in a very positive and friendly way. I'm not saying go kiss somebody's butt. Heck no, never. I'm just saying be cordial and be honest. Like one of the things that the parents said to the counselors was, well, I'm not 100% satisfied with the plan today, but I understand that this is all you got, so I'll take it because I have to. That's what the parents said, and they were like, "Well, very fair, duly noted." And one of the counselors is a mother, so she agreed. She's like, "I would too. I would feel the same way, but this is what I can do." And it was nice that they were very candid, very human. They weren't just stepping into their role as, these employees for the school. They were stepping in also as a parent that knows the reality of what people need versus what schools provide. And that is a terrible system that we all have here in the United States because parents do not speak up and demand or ask for change. And if you are one of those parents that requests change, remember to not just say, hey, we need to change this, but they provide exact solutions. So if you have an idea of how to manage these type of behaviors or how to implement some type of program that can help reduce the rate of bullying or harassment of any kind, then provide it. If you have a curriculum, I mean, one of the things that I did to get started in my business was that I asked a school district to pilot my program. And that's actually how Dalitalks became a real business. Like, I think it was a year later. I tested it out for a long time. And I just wanted that proof. So, you can do the same thing if you have something, if you've seen something from another school too, you can propose it. You can even link to people from different schools so that they can talk and collaborate on creating a solution at your child's school. So, yeah, we talked about the 11-year-old suicide. We talked about the sexual harassment at the other school with the other child. And there are so many other cases that I think are worth learning about. in regards to bullying. There was one called School Bullying and Its Culture of Hate Has a Long Shelf Life. Victims Hesitant to Seek Help. It's by Maria G. Ortiz Briones. It was updated November 29th, 2023. And I found that one on the Fresno Bee. And that's a whole nother topic that I can spend a whole nother hour to talk about. But part of the reason why we have a society that does not report is because they feel unsupported. And sometimes they're even bullied for reporting or teased or made fun of, because I don't know when society decided, hey, yeah, this happened to you, but be careful, don't report it. It's ridiculous. That's how the world continues to have so many problems, because we don't report things that we should be reporting. There is another one that I want you to know about, to go and look at, and it's called How China is Using the Law to Tackle Cyberbullying and Internet Violence. This one's really interesting too, and I'm glad that it talks about cyberbullying, because it's a topic that's not discussed in depth. I think all of us know cyberbullying, and I think a lot of us are aware that it happens to everybody, even adults, but no one's really talking about the types and the laws. And we just complain about, oh my gosh, I reported on Facebook or on Instagram or TikTok and nothing's happened and nobody gets back to you. There's no customer service you can call about. We know that, but that can change with the power of our voices. But our people are just not fully aware of the power of their voice. And I wish they did, because I've done so many things just by writing Congress people, senators, people at school districts, people even at the directors of VA hospitals. I mean, I've written so many different people just to submit a complaint, with also providing 3 solutions minimum. So anyway, I hope that this information helped. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Dalitalks.com or Dali@Dalitalks.com. And please share this episode. I'd really like to know what you thought about that case I shared about the 11-year-old and the first grader being sexually harassed by another classmate. Yeah, I think that's all for now. I hope this wasn't too heavy. If it was, I'm sorry. I try to keep them light. But that's all, folks. Have a great day, and please don't think this as something super negative. Think of this as some really good information that is going to help you empower yourself and your children. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hey, did you like that episode? If you did, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you may be listening and write a review. If you want more tips or some behind-the-scenes videos, make sure to follow my mom at Dalitalks on Instagram. You can turn on notifications for her posts and stories as well. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. See you next time.